this scene, which I'm glad the chat is working on because I actually didn't move the chat. But it looks fine. So, you may be able to see we have Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons both set up here. So this makes it a bit easier. Yeah, exactly. So we have two things set up. One is running on the Switch, one is running on the Analog Pocket. It's kind of weird actually, because I've been messing with how the Analog Pocket one looks. It doesn't give you a lot of options in terms of filters and stuff, but the Switch doesn't give you any, so it's still better than that, I guess. But like, on the, by default, the Analog Pocket's Game Boy Color stuff looks like this. And I think it's way too oversaturated and blown out. Like, this is not how Game Boy Color games looked. So I've like turned the desaturation up a wee bit, which I think makes it a bit closer. I think what the Switch does is actually closer to the original kind of style. But it still looks nice. There is also, we could also use like the pixel filters. I think they look really dim on the stream. Like if I switch to this, I think it looks like weirdly kind of dim in a way that I don't think works super well on stream. I don't know about you guys. I need to change this again, because now if I do this, because I don't know why it does this. But it doesn't scale properly. I need to reset it. We're probably do this, but I have it set up so that when we have to do a link game thing, like one of the secret things, then we will be able to switch between the two games pretty easily just by doing this. So that'll be fun. We won't need to do that too much, so really we're just going to see a sleeping tree in the corner for the most part. But that's also fun, I think. Now, I don't remember where we were in this game. Oops. But, I don't know if the tree lady will tell us. You can open time portals with the Harp of Ages and go back in time. It's also very Monday night, to be fair. Sleeping tree is a mood. I agree, yeah. I wish I was that sleeping tree. So if I remember right, we went to... Oh, what did we do? We went down to a temple down here. We don't have the... Oh, we do have this. We went to a temple like down here, and it collapsed. So I think we need to go back in time and do that? I don't know if we've... I guess actually the thing I could check is based on the last... item we got. Oh, I need to bring up the food and quest stuff as well. We've got the Eternal Spirit. That's all we've gotten. But the last game secret we did was the Deku Scrub, which you get... Let's see. Deku Scrub. Okay, so... I guess we just need to... try going to the forest. But yeah, this game doesn't really seem to have any, like... Here's what you're doing. You have to go to thing. So we'll figure that out as we go. We'll talk to people. Maybe someone will say something. You. Yeah, they're building a tower, I know. Are we in the... Wait, what time period are we in? Current age is the present. Okay. I thought they were building the tower in the past. I guess they're still building it in the present. Oh god. My bad. Oh, but yeah, how's everyone's Monday going? I have this whole week off work and spent the day tidying my flat. Which was not the most exciting thing. Exhausted. Is that just from work or is that from the sickness? How is the sickness? Are you still down with it? Cashy's Kelly pointed out I've got COVID fatigue, a thing I forgot was the thing. Yeah. COVID fatigue is I think the main symptom I got from it. We have actual symptoms, but both symptoms are about, I guess. Yeah. I had COVID fatigue for a bit after the main symptoms went away. Okay, so this is the thing that we knocked down. We need to go in the past to go into this, I'm pretty sure, was what we're doing. More tired than usual, I still get the frog in the throat whenever I eat, yeah. It will eventually pass. I don't know about the smell thing. I hate the smell of plants, that's what I found out was... Oh man. Oh man. Bad country to don't like the smell of plants, there's a lot of them. This weird demon dude's hungry. We'll find a time travel point. There's one next to the tree. I don't think we're actually going to get another Link game code until we finish the next dungeon. So you're going to see us sleep in tree for a while. Oh, give me a bit of harp. I still think this looks a little bit blown out. Let me turn desaturation up one more step. Right, 4. Everything's fucked. We have a lot of plants in this apartment, so that's helpful. But outdoors is much worse since I'm surrounded by hearts growing. Yeah. Yeah, I bet. Like, I have hay fever, and that's bad enough. I can't imagine having an aversion to just the smell of them. The current trade thing we have is stationary. I've gone better with the smell at least. Yeah, it's better. Wait. Someone just yelled, "Hey, it's you!" Yeah, sure. I got a stink bag. Speaking of things that smell bad, I got a stink bag. It just says very stinky. It doesn't say what it is, it's just a bag that stinks. Great. Alright, let's deal with this goddamn witch. Come on, bite me. Oh, I want that potion. Give me the potion. Okay, you need to get those because I can't resist. We've been joking about me just wearing a mask outside and spraying it with something. Oh no. Definitely don't do that. I once, like I have just like a cloth mask as well as the usual like kinda, like the more effective, you know, proper masks. And one time I cleaned my cloth mask, like it was in my pocket when I went in the wash. Went through a wash machine, came out smelling of, you know, the whatever fucking fabric softener and shit we had in our wash. And I put it on my face and it felt like the worst thing in the world. Because all I could smell was like inhaling that shit. It's bad. Yeah, don't make your mask smell of things. All right, the Queen wanted things. The Queen wanted things. Like gifts. Yeah, that wasn't Link's Africa. That's true. Being able to smell Link's Africa all day would be great, of course. The weird smell thing that might actually smell good. Yeah, true, true. Look at this cave thinking there's treasure inside, but I can't get in with this rock here. I could just blast it away. I don't have bombs yet though. No. I guess when you find bombs? Let me use this. Let's go find bombs, I guess. You buddy, you got bombs? Tree that bears special seeds. We already have some of those. I gotta find something Queen Ambi desires so I don't have to work at Ambi's tower. Deep in the woods are magical seeds and an owl statue. When the seeds are placed on the statue, it moves. Yeah, I know that. We played the other game. We know this stuff. Puzzle seeds, enigma seeds. Oh, so she wants the seeds. We're also searching for that which Ambi desires. You should not go further. There are hordes of terrible beasts. It's fine. We got it. This tree down. So glad this wasn't a guy going, you destroyed my door. Let me take all your money. Oh, shit, piece of heart. Take that. Hey, we got 4 pieces of heart. Get me out, we already have an entire row of hearts and we're 1 dungeon into the game. Some of the early game stuff in this is kind of silly when you have the like save from. Okay, so this is where we got to last time. Welcome in, Kashi. How's it going? This is the secret that we did last time. This is the last thing we did. This gave us upgrade for our seeds. Are you shield? Nah, I've got a shield. I'm good. I guess we're gonna need a shield at some point though. So we need these seeds, I guess. We're gonna have to find a long way around. Do you have something for me? Why are they all selling shields for... This one's undercutting the other one. The other one was selling them for 50, this one's selling it for 30. Not bad, just woke up too long ago. Good to hear, good to hear. Oh god. Oh, leave me alone. I was gonna take a sip of my beverage. 30 rubies, that's a whole shield. Fell barely to the soothing sounds of Crash. That's good to hear. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to get back into this game. I've been looking forward to playing this one. A shield for 10 rubies. Yeah, okay. Why are these Deku Scrubs all like fucking undercutting each other? Right, we need to find the stair over there. I've also been looking forward to the Game Boy Color Zelda games returning. Yeah, I really like them. They're really good games, and they're fun to play on stream. Although this one, I remember this one. Oh my god, get out of my way! I remember this one getting quite puzzly, and I can't remember. I remember a couple of puzzles being annoying, so we'll see if we get stuck. If we do, I'm not above just using a guide, but we'll hopefully not have to. I really wanted to play through this because I want to show off the, you know, the connectivity between the two. Like, I think it's such a cool system that they never did again. Capcom Puzzle's gonna be Capcom, but yeah, you're not wrong. Thought it was gonna be another Deku, so I went up to talk to You got me, game. You got me. Right, give me these seeds. Mystery seeds. Yeah. We got them last time as well. Do not forget to feed me mystery seeds. Yeah. You're useless. Oh, is the audio out of sync? Fine for me, but I don't know if it's iffy on the stream. Give me a second, let me check the stream. Strange. Hold on, let me just do this. This sometimes works. Oh, it's gonna break my recording. And whatever, I don't really care about the recording for this one. That seems to have fixed it. Sound better for you guys? Yeah, I think sometimes with a capture card. Actually, I'll do it with the other capture cards as well, because I do have two now. Turn this off again. I love the little blobby. I love the sprites in this game in general. Like, they all look fantastic. There's a reason that I made an emote of the little Wizrobe. Like, it's so cute. But yeah, I find sometimes with this capture card I need to deactivate and activate it again to get the audio in sync. It's weird. Usually I do it before I start the stream, but I didn't do it today. That'll be why. But yeah, I love the sprites in this game. Like, it's the same with his capture card. Yeah, that's why I don't know if he found a fix for it, but that's why I did suggest to him in the comments of his thing, or the chat, to just turn it off and on again. Those are the mystery seeds Queen Amby's been demanding. Nice work, kid. I'll take you to the palace. Alright. Fast travel. You found resetting it once an hour fixes it. Oof. For me, it's just at the start of a stream. But I'm using the Elgato. I don't know what he's using. I have an Elgato HD. It's the S Plus. The other thing I'm using, so right now I've got two feeds coming in. I've got one with my Switch and one for my Analog Pocket. Oracle of Ages we're playing on Analog Pocket. Oracle of Seasons is on the Switch. It's the save that we played through before on stream. And the Analog Pocket is coming through my Elgato, and the Switch is coming through. It's one of those little dongles that Elgato sells for capturing webcams, and it's specifically like, or for capturing like DSLR cameras to use them as webcams. So I've just got my Switch going through that, which is not really made for capturing gameplay, but I mean, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I've had zero issues with mine, but I specifically got an internal card to avoid any problems. Yeah, I have just the external one, and it's been fine other than this occasional desync thing. Right, let's go meet the Queen. Old Queenie. For those who don't remember, because it was a while ago, Queen Amby was considered very good, very nice, everyone likes her, and then she started building a tower because her beloved, the love of her life, went off on a pirate ship and died. So she built a tower to look for him, or she is building a tower to look for him, but They've been kind of forcing everyone to work on the tower, and it's kind of grim. I've heard the external ones were good, especially the more recent lines. I actually think they might have discontinued the internal card line. Yeah, maybe. I actually just backed another, so I have multiple capture cards because I'm an idiot. I actually have a little one from a company called Genki. Yeah, classic Monarch, you're not wrong. Called Genki Shadowcast, which is a tiny little HDMI dongle that has a USB-C port in it, and it's like 30 quid. It's actually on sale just now. It's only $24.99. And it's not the best, but it's a good little capture card. Could have used it for this, honestly. But they actually just ran a Kickstarter for their new version of it, because that was like a cheap little dongle thing that only did up to 720p 60, really. Like, it technically supports 1080p, but it doesn't properly support it. But they've just done a Kickstarter for like a full-blown capture card, like an external, like Elgato HD60 style capture card. I backed it because I'm an idiot, it's bad with money. And also the Shadowcast is like, I've used it for a bunch of stuff. Like when I started streaming I was using the Shadowcast, and it's solid. Like, it's not amazing, but it's good. I thought I might as well see what their next thing's like. But yeah, it's worth keeping an eye on for stuff like that. Right. Tribute. Brings a magic in the mystery seeds. Your Majesty has been seeking. What have you brought before me? Oh, that motherfucker took my seeds. Mystery seeds. Nairu desires mystery seeds more than anything else. She'll be most pleased. By what name do you go by? Proto. I offer a reward, Proto. Bring it here. Is the reward that I don't need to work in the tower? Because that'd be pretty good. This is your reward. Take it with great thanks. Hello, Proto. Alright, I got bombs. That's pretty good, actually. Imagine if the Queen was like, thanks for bringing me these seeds, here's some bombs. Like, what the fuck? Let's go, kid. Alright, so we're being escorted out. Will that boy be able to return? Maybe someday. It does sound like UK really. Okay, true. Coffee beans for bombs. You've done well. First you let me through the barrier, now you bring me mystery seeds. Such a nice boy. Taking advantage of people's kindness is too easy. This makes one less thing that can obstruct my ambitions. But my, these mystery seeds are unpleasant. Their sight and smell, Anyhow. Yeah, that's the bad guy in disguise as Naira. This is also classic Monarch behavior. Queen Ambi, now with my powers, the flow of time is yours to command. For you, I shall create a day that never ends, so the people will never sleep, and work when the tower can continue. And when the tower reaches the heavens, you shall go down in history as the greatest queen to ever live. Oh, I shall be known as a great queen, Naira, Oracle of Ages. Give me an endless day so that people can work without stopping to rest. Young and old alike will work towards my ends. This is definitely queen behavior. That's also definitely not how sleep works. If a day didn't end, you would still get tired. Especially if you're working the whole time. We're closer to the age of shadow, but it's still premature. The true shadow will fall when the black tower reaches the heavens and I climb to its highest turret. Then it will come. I think that's how they laugh. They're like, haha, ha ha ha. Right, Ambu's most pleased. You may go now. Right, fuck off. Let's go all the way. Wait, yeah, let's go blow the fuck out that dungeon. Let's go blow up an ancient ruin. Destroy it in 2 time periods. Really should have taken that heart. I'm surprisingly low on hearts. fuck are you doing? Fame my happy desires. I did. But you just keep fucking that tree. Oh, the guy's gone. Probably for the best. Let's go. The wing dungeon. Get some wings. Alright, so we can't smash these yet. Well, I mean, we can pick them up, but we can't destroy them with a sword. Right. What do you want, bird boy? Tomato Sony airdropping Twitter API supporting the PlayStation? Yeah. I do remember that. We just found out the starting costs for the use. Oh no. Good defense is the best offense against spikes. Okay, so we need a shield. 42k a month. That's insane. That's higher than higher than I was expecting. Because there was like a list of prices that went up that people were you know referencing before when it was first announced, but those were existing prices. So yeah, no wonder it's not worth it for like being able for people to be able to share screenshots to a rapidly dying social media site. Not worth it. Move this block into here. Okay. What did that do? I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like there's meant to be something else here. These red blocks are in the way. But yeah, I don't understand why Ethan would have Twitter support at this point. Like, it's not really worth it. There's not really an alternative still. Like, I quite like Blue Sky, but Blue Sky is like way quieter. Like, there's not a lot going on. One of these bombable. It doesn't seem like it. I don't think Blue Sky has what it takes to be big. You know what I mean? I think it's definitely the most fun of the ones that are there. Need a few more Musk errors first. He directly impacts the activity in Blue Sky. Yeah. I think the issue is he doesn't just impact the activity on Blue Sky, he impacts it on all the alternatives. And I think Threads... Oh, do I need to make this red in there? Threads was like suffered from launching bad. Like it was a bad product when they launched it. But it's pretty decent now. I still have no interest in using it, but like, you know, it's pretty good. It has the basic features it was missing before now. And Threads is the one that, because it's Facebook run, that all of the brands have went to, which again is part of the reason I don't really care about it. Like my Threads, I deleted the Threads app because literally no one was on it that none of the people that I follow on social media were on it, because why would they be? It's just, you know, it's just brands. I don't think I can... I was like, maybe I need to make this red, but I don't think I can do that. I'm not really vibing with the idea of Threads. Yeah, I mean, it's just Facebook and Twitter. It's not... It's not good. But I think it's probably the one that has the best chance of becoming big if Twitter massively fucks up again. Because... you know, loop it around 2 of the boxes instead of 1, and that should do it, I think. Like here? Or you mean like... oh no, I can't do that. With this, it's gonna go red, blue, red. I don't think I can do that. Hmm. Can I just do this? Man, this reminds me so much of VLR. This is why I was not critical of Mick when he got stuck on a dice puzzle in VLR, because... yeah. I don't think this is a thing you can do. This does seem to be the only thing, because we've got... there's no other doors. Can't use top boxes. Yeah, there's nothing... we can't use them because we can't push them back down after that. Oh. I did it. I don't really know what I did, but I did it. I'm sure we'll never have to do that again and figure it out. I think what I did was I pushed it onto his yellow side and then plumbed it from there, and that seemed to work. I feel like the chests in this game look different from Oracle Seasons, but maybe it's been a while since I played it. We got a map! These fucking snakes. Oh, we've got another... this game likes these train track puzzles. It was one of those in the first dungeon as well. Oh my god. I did, so this is... a different console entirely from last time we played this on stream. Last time I played this on stream I was playing it on the Switch's like NSO emulation stuff. This is an actual cartridge on an actual, well not an actual Game Boy, but on an analog pocket. So it's close to an actual Game Boy as I'm gonna be able to capture on stream. But I went through and redid all of the stuff that we did on stream the first time I streamed this. I think we only streamed it once before. I forget. I redid all that. I'm not sure if I named it the same thing though. I don't know if I called it Proto before. No, I must have actually, because I brought in the same code and it brings in your character name from the first one. Right, I need this again. So, let me just double check this. Make sure I do actually know what I'm doing. What I did was I took this, bumped it down to here, put it across to this one, and then did this. No. What did I do? Across to here and did that. I don't remember what I did now. When you go back to tapes. Sorry, we'll never need to go back in there again ever. I don't understand how dice work. Although if someone's able to clip me solving that puzzle the first time, I would actually appreciate that. Because I don't know what I did. Analyze the tapes. I assume we're going to get the jump. Well, I don't know if the jump's in this game. Oh god, it must be. Surely. They wouldn't put these guys in here. Alright. This is exactly my favorite graphic style. Yeah, it looks great. Also, I know it's just like a limitation to make things like easier to render on a Game Boy and stuff, but I genuinely love games that have just these solid black backgrounds. Like Shovel Knight really used those really well. Warm, cozy feeling. Yeah, cozy is a good description of it. Fucking snakes. Those snakes are not cozy. Right, we got our key. I guess we're gonna go back. Right. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here, bats. Yeah, I hate the new Pokemon 3D style, but still love the old style so much. Yeah. Honestly, and it's such a silly thing, but like I also just really like how the physical cartridges look for Game Boy Color games, because they're all like that kind of transparent plastic. Like there's not many, like I'm not a collector, like I don't collect stuff, like retro games and stuff like that. I'm happy to emulate stuff. But one of the things I would like to buy, if I can find a decent price, is there was a Kirby game for the Game Boy Color called Kirby Tilt and Tumble, and it was like it had like a motion sensor in it. You like physically, move the Game Boy to roll Kirby around. See if you change your mind on something. Yeah, maybe I could totally see myself being like, I don't really need anything, and then coming out spending stupid amounts of money. Obviously, retro games. Here's a market for that. Yes, yeah, I am going to that. It'll be fun. But yeah, there's like a Game Boy Color game called Kirby Tilt and Tumble, and it has a pink Game Boy Color cartridge. There's like a transparent color still, but it's like a really kind of faint pink. It looks great, and that's one that I actually would really like to own. One with no wings is no match for me. That's probably bad. That look. Is this a Klonoa? Are we fighting Klonoa here? Oh yeah, it is like a gremlin actually. Kind of like Klonoa became a gremlin. This is what happens if you feed Klonoa after Red Bank. Happy Pal, yeah. Come on. Assume if I fall down those, I'm going to restart the fight. Oh jeez. Caught me out there, I'll give you that. Put it into the tiles, Flappy Pal. Yeah. Please, we need to stand there. It's so sneaky that it moves after it drops to it. Yeah, it like bounces. I feel like games normally make it drop in a fixed place. Yeah. Alright, we have 2 sets of stairs. And where does this door go? Okay, I think we're going to get the jump power up soon. I could have sworn the jump power up was only in Oracle of Seasons, but I guess I was wrong. Unless there's some alternative to it, which is definitely possible. Alright, so there's some item in here. Looks like we got some puzzles to solve. Oh my god. Kill these guys. Where'd the other one go? Come on. Come on. Can we move these? No. Well, this doesn't seem like much of a puzzle, I'll be honest. All these scaly boys. The dice was a bigger puzzle. I mean, you can actually interact with the dice. Right now. All these colored blocks. Alright, old boy, tell us some shit. With the blue wing, soar over the colored heights. Alright, can we jump over those blocks to like change their color maybe? So we need to jump power up. Look what we found, it's just sitting here in this dungeon. I mean, I'm not going to complain. It's so weird that it was just like sitting here. Right, hold on, let's check. So can we like jump over these? Oh god, I guess not. Your description is useless, Bard boy. Oh, I can jump over those ones. That makes more sense. Right, let's go explore. We have multiple routes to explore now, which is kind of cool. Alright, let's go that way first actually. And then we'll go up, downstairs, upstairs, wherever it was. Wherever we just got the feather, there's obviously like another way out as well. Nothing over here. Discovered Maki and ramen now delivered to my area. That's dangerous. Called the order without thinking about how hungry I was. Made a huge mistake. That is so dangerous. If Maki and ramen delivered to my house, I would be eating fucking ramen every day. I love Maki and ramen so much. Have to room for ramen. Honestly, even more than ramen, I'd be eating takoyaki every day. I love takoyaki. One of my favorite foods. Like, it's just like a kind of sweet dough with a little bit of octopus in the middle. Like, what more do you need? It's delicious. Okay, so blue means go, I guess. Oh, there's a vulnerable wall here. You could probably save it for. Yeah, I mean, it's just soup. You can definitely reheat it. They have this thing where 3 orders over 15 gets you £8 at the force. That's fucking. That's good. I got takeaway and noodles were separated from soup. Yeah, I've had ramen from places that do that before. It's a good way to keep it all kind of fresh. Alright, let's do this puzzle now. So we need to make these blue. Perfect. The container they sent us in is cool. That is cool. Sort of thermal lining. That's kind of fancy for a takeout bag. Sounds expensive for a takeout bag. Bowl the ramen toppings with a cup that you take out, the broth is underneath. Oh, that's smart. That's really smart, actually. Ugh, I wish they'd delivered here. Actually, I should check, because they might... Deliveroo might have them. I usually use Just Eat, because most things in Edinburgh are on Just Eat. And they're not on there. Or if they are, they're, like, not close enough to deliver to me. But I feel like Deliveroo stuff is always... Deliveroo's working. I feel like Deliveroo stuff in Edinburgh, because I am, like... To completely dox myself, I'm, like... You know, 5-6 miles from, like, the centre of Edinburgh. So, a lot of places just don't deliver here because, you know, it's like 5-6 miles out. Which isn't that bad, but, you know... Edinburgh's a small city, and so most people are pretty central, so they just don't need to. I feel like Deliveroo stuff usually will deliver further. I should check. I should check if Maki and Ramen will deliver. Because I get Indian food from an Indian place that is almost like it's round the corner from Maki and Ramen. There seems like there's not much here. Right, let's go back. It's probably a place we can fall down. Let's just off Great Western Road, so like, it was 17 minutes for a driver to get from the city centre to my house with a tram. That's not bad. Alright, we need to do the jump thing again. I got a lot of options here. Yeah, I usually don't. It's kind of annoying. It's an anchor block. It is. It's a legally distinct womp from Mario. Which is kind of funny given, you know, this is a Nintendo game. The fucking train's not here. How do... Can't get out this way. Oop, oop, oop. It's actually really bad for me. Yeah, because you spend too much on takeaways. I was never a big takeout person, but ever since I moved I got far too much takeout. Yeah. I've never been like a huge takeout person, especially because a lot of the places near me I feel like are not great. Like they're fine. But since the pandemic I've been ordering way more stuff because a lot of like local restaurants that didn't used to deliver now deliver. So I'm like, oh, I can just get Chinese food from that nice Chinese restaurant up the road rather than go and sit in. And it's like, I should really go sit in, you know? Get me out the flat. And also, you know, going to sit in is so much more effort that I would, you know, normally just make my own food. Glasgow's really hitting the food culture thing hard right now, so the options are really diverse and good there. Yeah, I bet. Edinburgh's like really good for that stuff in the city centre, but as far out as I am, which is not that far out, but as far out as I am is not as good, unfortunately. I don't think I'm going to be living very central anytime soon. We haven't been in this room yet. A lot of dead things. Is there... Is this an empty room? I assume there's a room you can like fall into from above. Oh, this will be the room underneath the boss room. This will be where... Okay. Yeah, okay, that's where we would have fallen if we'd fallen through the boss floor. That makes sense. What should I do? There was another set of stairs, right? Oh no, that was another set of stairs. So let's go this way. We need to go... Oh, no, wait, I was in the right place. I'm stupid. I'm gonna sit in this train for ages. In this real car. We go back. I messed up. We gotta go back. Gotta go back. Oh, I am also so full of food though. I had pizza for dinner last night. Homemade. Made my own dough, which I hadn't done in a while. And as a result, this time I made too much dough. And so today I had pizzas again because I had so much leftover dough, I needed to use it. 2 pizzas in a row, definitely that, yeah. Oh, it was so good though. So good. It's nothing quite like homemade pizzas. And the dough is so easy to make as well. Don't know why I went down here. I hope that didn't reset the train track. The dough is really easy to make as well, which is good. I want pancakes for breaking. Oh, you would get on with my girlfriend. Whenever my girlfriend like is out, like is like I want breakfast but I don't know what to have, her default is just I'll make pancakes. Just every time it's just I'll make pancakes. It used to be my dad's thing when like when I went back home to visit family, we would usually sit and drink because, you know, Scotland. That's what you do when you socialise, right? And when we were starting to get a bit drunk, my dad would make pancakes. We'd just make, as we refer to them as, drunk pancakes. And let me tell you, when you're making pancakes when you're drunk, they aren't always necessarily the best pancakes, but also if you're drunk, they're the best pancakes. Realize you gotta get out 5 minutes before work starts. No work here, so I could be in bed all day. I have no work at all this week. And also no plans for it, really. Public holiday for a horse race. I mean, I can't really criticize that. I'm sure we have public holidays for dumber things than that. I can't move these. I mean, the yellow one's gotta go in the middle. I need to have this equipped. I have to drag it. Can't move them. Oh. Can't move the yellow one now. That's a strange addition to this kind of puzzle. Not necessarily a bad one, just a weird one. I'm here for stupid public holidays, to be honest. The more holidays the better. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Not really into the horse racing idea though. Yeah. Like, the new WarioWare game came out on Friday, so really we should have public holiday for that. New key. We have 2 keys. What else in here? I was about to get the WarioWare game until I saw reviews. I've not looked at the reviews. Seems to have some issues with the motion control stuff. That's unfortunate. Oh god, what is this room? Oh no. Oh no. This is cool. What a bizarre room. This is one of those areas in a game that makes you really go, oh, they got told they were making a Game Boy Color game. So they were like, oh, we can use color in some fun ways. I really hope the patch, I really wanted it. Yeah, yeah, same. All the Wii games are rely on motion controls, but it's not super responsive. It's a shame because the Wii one was really good. And that was all motion controls as well. And the motion, like, the Switch's motion controls are capable of being really responsive. Like I was actually mentioning earlier while I was playing Sonic R, but I at some point would like to play through Skyward Sword on stream. Which is the like very heavily motion controlled one that people didn't really like, but I quite like that game. Yeah, it'd be cool if they could patch it. Did my Switch go to sleep? The trees went away. There we go. Let's bring the tree back. The red face fears smoke. This could be the floor did again. Or got really the Wario really, because we didn't get the opportunity to get it. Yeah, true. The last WarioWare game on Switch wasn't great either, but I quite liked it. It's just the gimmick for it wasn't amazing. There's always horses die, it's very sad. Yeah, horse racing's like grim as like a practice. I think we're running bombs because I think this is gonna be the floor guy. My Joy-Cons. My smart idea of having everything on screen at once is failing me. There we go. Alright. Looks like we're gonna need to jump as well. Also, it's only the red face that dislike bombs. Oh, well, that's bad. It seems like a weird boss. Oh god, oh god, don't do that. Yeah, Switch went to sleep. It'll happen again. Although this looks like it's the end of this dungeon, so I think we fucked up. I think I need to drop it in there when the face is red. Boss seems like a pain in the ass. Damn it. Shoot, goddamn fireballs. God damn it. That should have counted. So many fun mechanics in this. Yes, this is definitely the one where they were like... Arco Seasons was the one that were like, alright, we're making a very action-y regular Zelda game, and this is the one where like, we're doing some weird puzzly things. Reminds me of the quintessons from the old Transformers movie. I don't remember that. I was never a big Transformers guy. God. Right, I'm gonna die. Really bloodthirsty. Yeah, the one where they were like, we need to sell new toys, so kill off all the old ones. Oh shit. Oh, we had an extra life. So the potion. What the fuck is this one? I got hit by all of those. Wait, we're gonna die for reals now. I feel like there must be something I'm missing from this. It definitely seems like we're meant to drop bombs at his head. Maybe we can explode each of the faces. I think we need to specifically explode the red face. Right, I blew myself up. Try again. Right, we need some help. Alright, we got no health there, so let's go into this with 3 hearts. See how it goes. Wait, I think I need to drop the bomb in when its face is red. But it seems like it's... We're kind of relying on the pattern... Oh, this is all reset. God damn it. We're kind of relying on the pattern of the faces and the platform, so I don't really know how you're meant to do that. Ugh. Thank you for dropping that heart into the pit. I kind of needed it. What's up, Crash? Is this the Hong Kong thing? Because I saw that yesterday and it's fucking hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, they used fucking UV lights for their goddamn, like, gig. For their stage lights. Insane. If it happened to, like, anyone else, you'd be like, wow, that's fucking sucks. But the fact that it happened to a bunch of fucking Bored Ape NFT suckers, it's like, that's kind of funny. It's tragic, but hilarious. They'll never be able to see their apes. It's not like, they're not like, none of them have been like permanently blinded or anything, but they had to send out health things being like, hey, if your vision's fucked, you should see a doctor because we fucked up. It's such a bizarre fuck up. Apparently the same company they use to like organize the event has done it before as well. Like it's not like a one-time accident, it's a they use those lights at their gigs and it's like why would you do this? We believe that those, much less than 1% of those attending working the event had these symptoms. Yeah, thing is, 1% is probably right because only the people closest to the stage would have been hurt by it. But I mean, 0% of people should have been hurt by it. Like, it's not it's a very easy thing to just not do. As it turns out, most gigs do not use fucking UV lights. Because why would you? Very. You shouldn't come away from a concert blinded. Exactly. Deafened. Maybe. That's part of the deal, right? You go to a concert, you kind of come away, you know, you're basically signing a deal that says, I know I might lose some of my hearing in this, but vision? Face was red. Yeah, so that's what we have to do. Red face. Oh, we got 2 in a row! This is why most of us take earplugs to gigs now. I need to do that. I'm really bad about not doing that, but my hearing is already fucked, so I know I need to do it. I actually, have... I get my eyes tested in a couple of weeks. Because I don't have glasses and my vision's fine. Like, I've never had issue with my vision. But I've also not had my eyes tested since I was a kid, so I thought, my girlfriend needs to get her eyes tested because she needs her glasses updated. So, I was like, I might as well go and get mine tested at the same time. And when you sign up for the, you know, when you do the like sign up thing, the questionnaire for the vision test, they ask like, hey, do you want a hearing test at the same time? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I probably should. Tell me how fucked my hearing is. I forgot to take earplugs to the electric cowboy, but it wasn't too bad. The worst ones I need earplugs for widely is the losing score. Yeah. Yeah, no harm doing them both. Right, we killed that. That went super easily that time. We fucking demolished them. Should have done a prediction for the... I keep forgetting about predictions. Could have done a prediction the first time, and you could have lost some money, but next time. We got a Christmas tree. It whispers only truth to closed ears from out of the stillness. It's a weird sense. Oh. Sometime on the South Sea's Crescent Island. It's from Town's coast, so we need to go to the island. It does look like a Christmas tree. So, the fun thing is, I mean, the whole thing's fun, because it's a fun game. But, the other fun thing is, now we've completed the wing dungeon, there is 2 Oh, 3. 3 secrets we can do. So let's get started on those. First of all, we need to go back to the present and go to the mayor's house. So let's go back to town. I think there's a time travel thing there. Get your harp out. Get your harp out. We should probably see what's up here, right? I mean, never hurts to explore, we got. Oh, this is like a whole other area, what the fuck? There's tons of shit up here. There's a cave, there's a wall there, I assume we can climb up that wall. There's a piece of heart. But yeah, I'm really bad about taking earplugs to gigs. And usually I'm fine. I'm trying to think what the one was that really fucked with me last time. Can't remember. I feel like I went to a lot of gigs last year. I've been to like 1 this year. The only gig I went to this year was Paramore. So that wasn't a ear-deafening, like, you know, hearing damaging kind of thing. It was Paramore. It was very good though. Just go pick up the stuff already. Paramore would be good. It was very good. They were supported by Block Party. It was fantastic. I really liked it. I'm a little disappointed it's the only gig I've been to this year, because again, I went to a lot of gigs last year. Last year I was trying to go to 1 gig every month, which I kind of did. I didn't start doing it until May, I think. But after, like, from May onwards, I went to a gig every month, which was good. Thief Witch, yeah. He is a thief. Yeah, this year I've only went to Paramore. Last year I went to a lot of like rap gigs, which, you know, I usually only go to like rock stuff. But last year I really kind of branched out a bit. I also saw a lot of bands multiple times last year. Like I saw Run the Jewels twice and Clipping twice. The second time I saw Run the Jewels, it was meant to be it was actually meant to be a Rage Against the Machine gig with Run the Jewels supporting. But Rage Against the Machine cancelled like their whole tour for the rest of the year. So the Run the Jewels were like, well, we've already booked flights, so I mean, fuck it. I guess we'll do a gig. It was very fun. Right, let's go to the present. And then we need to go to the mayor's house, which is in the centre of town, next to the or above the fountain. Is this the mayor's house? Folks have been vanishing and turned into stone without warning. This is the mayor's house. I'm playing the mayor here in Lina City. Lina has a long history reaching back hundreds of years. Back then it was Lina Village, not a city. It doesn't really feel much like a city now, but it doesn't even have a single cathedral. Isn't that the rule? Like, you need a cathedral to be a city? You're Pro, the one who saved Holodrum, right? Oh shit. The breach of the mayor looked like Mr. Mine. That's Mayor Mine to you, Crash. Will you hear my request? Yeah, of course. Do you remember Mayor Rule back in Holodrum's Horn Village? No. I want you to tell this secret to the mayor. Yeah. The secret is this. Now, the good thing is, I don't need you all to memorize this. Because finally, we can use this. You go talk to the mayor. Let's go talk to the mayor. He's up here, I think? I was saying the mayor's the one that kept giving us all the seeds. Even Game Boy Color music is so cozy, especially this game. Like, not all Game Boy Color games, like, I think Pokemon... I love the music in the, like, first-gen Pokemon games, but I think there's a weird eeriness to, like, everything in that first generation of Pokemon. I don't know how to describe it. There's something about the way it looks and sounds that's just, like, slightly off-putting to me. In a way that I like. Right, so what do... Gold and Silver. Yeah, Gold and Silver, I think. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've played those. Where's the exclamation mark, anyway? I'm, like, blind right now. Oh, it's at the end. Why is it not next to the... I was looking next to all the symbols for the exclamation mark, but no. Yes, and then a square. It's a message from my friend in Labruna. Thank you so much. I'll make it so you can carry even more rings. Got a bigger ring box. I'll teach you the secret to carrying more rings in Labruna too. Right, then we want to switch back. Let's go talk to the tree. I got a North American copy, so I got my gold slightly ahead of everyone. I just remember the dark winter months playing that game obsessively, how much crazy step up I felt. Yeah. I got it like a bit later. Like it was like a birthday present or something. But I just remember loving that game. But Pokemon Yellow is the one that I kind of have the most nostalgia for, because it was... I didn't have an original Game Boy. I got a Game Boy Color with a copy of Pokemon Yellow for like my birthday one year, and that was the one that I played for ages. I still have that copy somewhere, I'm pretty sure. I don't know where, but I wouldn't have thrown it out. Right, let's see. 5... Club... 4... Arrow up. So now we should be able to carry more rings here as well. Rolled 3 rings. So we got upgraded to 5 rings in the other one, but we haven't got the ring upgrade here yet. So yeah. I played the older ones a lot, but gold really hit that sweet spot. 9-day cycles and things like Lapras showing up on Friday. Yeah, I loved all the real-time clock stuff. It was real smart. It was real cool. It's definitely, like, those first two are definitely the ones I remember the most of. Having not played them in a while. I say having not played them in a while, I've actually been playing through Pokemon Yellow recently. I want to replay Pokemon Gold and then maybe do... sorry, I need to look where this our secret is. So that's that secret. I would like to play Pokemon on stream at some point. I would like to do some kind of like permadeathy kind of thing. But I would like to kind of remember the game first. If that makes sense. Like, it's been so long since I played Pokemon Gold, I might just get lost for a while. Also, I've had this copy of Pokemon Gold for ages that I'm not sure of the battery. The battery seems fine just now, but I don't know. I beat Blue again earlier in the year, captured everything you possibly can without trading, so I've been meaning to revisit Gold next. Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing through Yellow recently. But Gold is probably the one I'd play on stream, because I think there's just a bit more to it. Right, return to the Fairy's Woods in the present. Alright, we have to go back to the dungeon we just did. I think it's down this way. Can we get through from here? Let's go all the way back around. Alright. Oh, do I know a sad story? A sad, sad story for your Monday nights. Remember how I did, when I got my Analog Pocket, I did that stream where I went through all of my Game Boy games? See which ones worked, which ones didn't. This weekend I finally got out my isopropyl alcohol and like cleaned all of the cartridges. And most of the ones that didn't work before work now, so like the Star Trek one works now. Donkey Kong I think is actually dead. I don't think it's even just a battery, I think that cartridge is just fucked. But like everything seems to work now. I cleaned and put in Oracle of Seasons, which was working fine before, and had my save file on it from when I was a kid on it before, still there. And save file was gone. I made a new save, ran around for a bit, turned it off, left it a few minutes, booted up again. Save file was gone. So the battery in that cartridge is dead. At some point between the last stream and now, that battery's died. Which is unfortunate. I'm gonna have to do surgery on it at some point, replace the battery. I see your quest has brought you to Labrina. Can I ask a favour of you? Yes. There should be a great fairy behind the falls in Holodrum's sunken Temple of Seasons. I want you to tell her my secret. Yeah, okay. The secret is this. Everyone memorize it. Right, we need to go to Holodrum. Not Holodrum. We need to go underground. To... I can't remember. There's a way underground over here, I think. Oh god. We need to go to Temple of Seasons. But yeah, kinda annoying. My save file's gone. But, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's just a save file. I've never been super connected to that stuff anyway. But I do quite like having the actual cartridges that work. So this Oracle of Ages cartridge should be fine. Like for a while, because I specifically bought this from an eBay reseller that does battery replacements on all the Game Boy cartridges they sell. So, cute here. So this battery is like new, so this cartridge should be fine for a while, hopefully. But things like, I want to play Pokemon Gold on stream, and that cartridge I've had since I was in uni. So the battery's probably gubbed on it, or will be soon. Right, or the Temple of Seasons over this way. So yeah, it's annoying. Game Boy and Game Boy Color games cartridges like rely on batteries for a bunch of stuff. Oh my god, I forgot about how I need to keep jumping to mean this. Game Boy Advance games, a lot of them don't have batteries, but like Pokemon games do. Anything that has a real-time clock will have a battery. Like the Pokemon games. But a lot of Game Boy Advance cartridges also had just moved on to like proper solid-state memory that didn't need batteries to save stuff. I'm actually not sure if Pokemon uses it for saving stuff on the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Color ones do. Oh my god, I'm in the wrong place. I need to go off the screen. God damn it. I think the Game Boy Advance ones, if the batteries die on those, they will actually just keep working. They just won't be able to do any of the like the clock will break. It isn't the end of the world, but you know, it means you can't catch some Pokemon, you can't get a specific type of evolution, that kind of thing. Right, we want to go behind the temple, I think I said. Or is it in the temple? I think in the temple first. I think I said like the waterfall behind the temple. Also, there's... oh, it's here, okay. I was gonna say there's no water outside the temple, it's just lava. Hey buddy. Secret chamber in Temple of Seasons. Have you some errand? Yes. I need to tell you the secret password, which is minus N6 equals exclamation mark. Imagine if someone just walked up to you and said minus N6 equals exclamation mark. You'd think they're a nutter. I gave you this and thanks. Alright, we get that ring appraised. Oh, okay. So. For the previous one, we got a code that we could send back. This one, because it's a ring, we don't get code because there's a separate code for sending rings back and forth. Portal up here. Oh no, I misremember. Where's the portal? Okay, hold on. I feel like that red one wasn't there before. Oh, this just it tells you we get a boomerang. Alright, we did all that ages ago. Here we go. Right, give me the seeds. Fast travel back. To town. We'll get this ring appraised. Appraise it. It says the heart ring. Slowly recover lost hearts. That's kind of handy. Yeah, equip that actually. Right, so now we want to do this. Say a secret or ask about a secret, make your choice. Ask. So this is the secret for sending rings back. So let's go to this one. Got it. Yeah, we did this. Yes. Oh my god. Let me go. Let's go talk to the ring guy. I think it's kind of wild that we have over a row of hearts already and we're 2 dungeons into this game. This ring stuff's kind of silly. Or this secret stuff. It's such a cool gimmick every time. Yeah, I agree. I think it's just a cool mechanic. It's like... It's bizarre. As a kid, I don't think I used a guide for this stuff. I just like sat and found most. I probably found a guide for like 1 of them or 2 of them. But I sat and just like searched everywhere for all of them. And you find most of these people anyway. Like they're all in relatively easy to find spaces. But yeah, I'm using a guide because I want to just make sure we don't miss any on stream because they're so cool. I want to make sure we see all of them. And we get the most overpowered end-game thing, and see the... I don't actually know if you have to do all the secrets to get the ending, like the final boss. I think just from doing this like second playthrough, we're gonna get the final boss anyway. But might as well do them all anyway. Also, if I remember right, the final boss is kind of hard as shit, so... Especially in Ages. We've done this, I think, the harder way, if I remember right. Heart, dollar, hat. What's up? Give me some rings. We have the red ring. These are all kind of useless. Maple's ring. Heart ring, this is what I want. Oh no, wait, hold on. Open our space. Let's take... What else we got? The fist ring. No, it doesn't do anything. No effect from jinxes. That might be handy. Double ore chunks. I don't know if you get ore chunks in this one. That's the one that... These are all the ones that make us look like other stuff. They're all useless, but they're funny. No damage from small rocks. Hard floors don't crumble. No damage from Zora's fire, no damage from electricity, half damage from spiked floors. Let's go with this one, which I think we had on for a while and then just never actually used. So let's save, because we've not actually saved in a while. Right. I think there might be one more secret we can do. After Link has acquired Rock's Feather and completes the Wing Dungeon, a young girl will appear at the south shore, located south of the Black Tower. So let's go there. But yeah, I really like this gimmick. It's such a smart little thing. Oh, it's line of village. We need to go back into the past. Let's see if there's a spot we can do that. There seems like a lot fewer places to do the time travel stuff than there was to do the season switch and stuff. I feel like this is like a suspicious. Where are we? Motherfucker, is that Tingle? I forgot Tingle was in this game. Maybe this is the better of the two games. I remember liking the Oracle of Seasons more, but I don't know, this one's got Tingle in it. Maybe I was wrong. Shit, I need to get in town. Oh, alright, let's go back into town. Oop. Anything in the shop? I don't really want anything. You're good. I'd like to go in there. I wonder if we can go in there if we switch time and then... Okay. Don't mind me, tree lady. You weren't needed for this one. Just found the jam pack with Final Fantasy X and the one with Metal Gear Solid 3. Ooh. That sounds like a good one. What was the... How much is the Metal Gear Solid 3 demo? Like, how much of the game is that? Is this the one where the shop was? I feel like this is where the shop was. Is there a... Okay, there's no game travel spot. Maybe we need to go from the future. Only place with a safe download is very slow. Have you checked archive.org? Because archive.org has a ton of shit on it. It wouldn't surprise me if they're all on there. Although downloads can be quite slow from there, to be fair. So I'm getting it from... Yeah, fair. I don't know how archive.org gets away with that shit. I know that it's more legit than other places. Because, you know, technically it's like a allowed archive. But there's a lot of shit on there that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, I'm surprised no one's like DMCA'd this shit. Not complaining though, it's a great site. This is the wrong way. I need to go to the fountain. Wait, what's this house? Where are you? Who's this Naira? Oh, we talked to this guy before. He used to work for the Queen. I love the music in this game. There's an odd pattern near the gate to the macro tree. Yeah, that's the time travel thing. Thanks, lady. Nobody knew that. Do we want to cross? What does it say? Let's actually look at the guide. Hit down the screen, cross the bridge, and down 2 screens and left the screen. Okay. I think it's this girl. I forgot to tell my lucky secret to that guy who went to Holodrum. He's so unlucky. I just hope he doesn't meet with disaster and end up a bag of bones. Can you help me? Sure. The secret is this, and I think we have to give it to a pirate who is a bag of bones, because the pirates are all skeletons. Let's see. House of Pirates. We go back underground again. I am enjoying watching all this jam-pack speedrun stuff. Is this the pirate one? Oh, we're like right here. Nice. We're the only ones left. If I'd known the secret to being lucky, the boat wouldn't have sunk. Do you know the secret? I know the secret. Then you're a lucky bloke. Exclamation mark. 6. GT. Triangle. Now I'm lucky. I'd like to give you something lucky in return. But your luck seems to have run out. What shall we do? It's 777 ore chunks. Jesus. Oh my god, is there an easy way to get ore chunks? Oh no. Oh no. Right. This is now a digging stream. Right. We have... Let's go back, talk to the ring dude. We have a ring that will give us more ore chunks. I can't believe this asshole is making us pay for a fucking upgrade. We gave him a secret. And here he's like, I don't know. Give me some money. Oh my god. I just looked at the guide. We need to have exactly 777 ore chunks. You can't have more. This might take a while. Right. Art ring. Actually, let's quit that. We definitely had one that gives us more ore chunks. Didn't we? Here we go. So just it is. I mean, it's kind of a funny thing though. Like it's not. The fact that I'm doing it on stream is the bit that makes it a little annoying, but it's a funny thing to be like, oh, okay, 777, because you know, 777 is like a jackpot on like a slot machine or something. So of course that's the sign of luck. But we have very few ore chunks. This might take a while. We'll do this for a few minutes and then we'll see how close we get. If not, I'll do it off stream maybe. No one needs to sit and watch me dig up all this shit for ages. Oh, I need to jump. Oh. So is there anything in particular you're looking for, Crash, at the retro gaming market? Or are you looking for stuff? Oh, you fuck off, Fire Snake. You get to... break all the streamers about not picking fights. Yeah, you're allowed to break that rule, it's fine. Coming from the Metal Gear Solid 3 record. You know, that's the one that might make me enter this competition. Nothing specific, my partner's the one with things she specifically got mine. Nice. Bring it, I'll beat you at that too. Yeah, I think Crash has been trying to take all your records. I've got all the TOS jump back ones so far. It's fucked up. It's fucked up, Crash. That's also fucked up. I need that over. Guys, the digging stream now. If I was going to take part, I would definitely look up the Metal Gear Solid 3 like actual speedrun strats and then try and apply them to the demo one. Because there is a lot of actual speedrun strats for those games. This fucker. Yeah, that's what I've been doing too. You have to. I don't know. The thing is, I've got time this week, but then I don't really have time a lot the rest of the month. Is unfortunately the case. We're trying to get the Metal Gear Solid Jam Pack World Record, but that just isn't happening for me. Is there like someone else that has that already? Like someone outside of you guys? I don't think there's something that's better than the RAR2, so no idea what's so far behind. Man. Only 300. Oh, right. This. I was looking for I forgot that we got the worst sounding gloves in the world. I said that anyone TOS that can beat the world record for that gets a $5 from me. Tempted. $5 could go towards retro games. But yeah, I think I'm the same as you, Crash, when it comes to like the retro market thing. Like, there's nothing I specifically I'm looking for. I'm just like, if there's some Game Boy games there that are reasonably priced, I might get something. I was actually tempted after finding out that Guilty Gear game existed for WonderSwan to be like, I should see if I can find a decently priced WonderSwan and a copy of Guilty Gear. And I looked up on eBay. WonderSwan colors are not that expensive. Like, you can get one like working and, you know, blah blah blah, decent condition for a decent price. Guilty Gear Petite 2, even like an unboxed, like cartridge only thing, is expensive as fuck. Like, it seems like they did not make many copies of that game. So, that's not happening. I think that game's cool, but not enough to pay that much money for it. So instead, it will be a case of, if I see any Game Boy games that are reasonably priced that I like, I might pick something up. But really, I'm coming through to hang out with you guys. Because that'll be fun. Someday when we're all rich and retired, yeah, definitely. The thing is, like I've said before, I'm not a collector anyway. I don't really care about. I'm fine with emulating stuff. I don't really need. It's nice to have the physical cartridge of things, but like I don't need it. supposed to be just like buy ore chunks at the shop, can I? Go away. I'm digging. This isn't the shop. The shop's this shop above it, I'm pretty sure. You have ore chunks? Oh, it's the guy that stole our trailer. But yeah, I'm not like big into collecting stuff anyway, so I'm just like, I wouldn't mind even just like, if they have, I've never been to one of these markets, I don't know if they have a lot of loose stuff as well as the more collectible ones. Probably something enough I enjoy having a physical copy of it. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like I don't need a copy, but you know, stuff that, like this. Oh god, as I throw my Joy-Con on the floor. Like buying a physical copy of Oracle Ages is just a kind of fun thing I wanted, so I could have both of them because it's a cool thing to have, and I like these games a lot. Not even really to play, even some DS games are now dying. Yeah. 10 ore chunks. It's like nothing, man. I need hundreds. I need hundreds. Oh my god. Right, we're at 400 though, we're actually getting pretty close. I remember there being a bunch behind the sauna. I don't know if you can collect those multiple times, let's go check. But yeah, for me it's like, there's a bunch of Game Boy games that I really like. I wouldn't mind having a physical copy of, and I probably wouldn't play them. I didn't expect Zelda and the Game Boy Color to be Square Enix. Yeah, it's a weird one, right? Like, I wouldn't mind a copy of some of the, like, Mega Man Zero games, but also I don't really care too much because I wouldn't play them. No. I don't know if we've done that one yet. But yeah, I probably wouldn't play them. They'll play them on the Switch because the Switch version has a lot of like, you know, ease of use things. Oh, speaking of Mega Man, actually, so learning about that WonderSwan Color Guilty Gear game kind of led me to just looking into WonderSwan games. And WonderSwans, as far as I'm aware, didn't really come out outside of Japan. So there's no English games for them. But there's people that have done English translations for a bunch of them. So you can get English translations for like the Final Fantasies and like there's like Digimon games on there and stuff like that. But I found there's a Mega Man game on there that's tied into the anime version of Mega Man Battle Network. But like, it's not a Battle Network game, it's like a 2D platformer. And it's kinda shit. It's not good. But it's kind of a cool thing to exist. I'm kinda in a weird bit now with collecting. I've kinda got my White Whale and a Japanese copy of Parasite Eve. Don't really know what I want to get now. Yeah, understandable. I enjoy having a WonderSwan from the Final Fantasy game ports on them. Yeah, they're supposed to be quite good ports, right? Isn't it what the Game Boy ones are based on? I think there's a Clock Tower port of the WonderSwan. Oh, that'd be weird. First ports of the SNES and NES Final Fantasy games, and the first real upgrade they got, the WonderSwan versions were all sort of standard until the Pixel remasters. Ah. I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah, I knew like nothing. I only knew the WonderSwan like in that I thought it's a cool name. I didn't actually know about any of the games on it until I ran into that Guilty Gear game. I don't think I've got like a White Whale for like collecting. There's nothing that I'm like damn, I would really. Most of my favourite games I have copies of. Like Majora's Mask and Metal Gear Solid 3, Subsistence. I guess Oracle of Ages was kind of that, but not really. The PS3 not getting a WonderSwan port is why we never got an English version of that until the weird 3D version. Oh yeah. Never thought about that. That is weird. I never played that 3D version. People seem to like it, but I don't know. The low hearts thing is annoying me now. We're almost there on the ore though. Digging up this whole town. I kind of wish I had like a, you know, this is the one game that I desperately want a collectible copy of. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't really like the 3D 3 or 4. I didn't really like the 3D 4 much. But it might just be because I played 4 so much. Make up for fighting less enemies on screen, they were given more HP instead. That does sound bad. At this point I would actually kind of like to pick up a heart. Any of you guys in here? Where's got some heart? Oh wait. I know what I can do. Yes. How slow is this? Is it based on steps? Maybe based on steps. A lot of these old Zelda things are based on steps. Slowly recover lost hearts. It is definitely slow. Alright, we got a heart though. Yeah, I can't really think about, or think of, there's a couple of things I wouldn't mind having, like, I mentioned it earlier in the stream, but, I wouldn't mind a copy of, like, Kirby Tilt and Tumble, which was the Game Boy Color Kirby game that had, like, a translucent pink cartridge, because it looks cool. And I've not played that game. It's on the Switch, I should really just play it on the Switch, is the thing. But it's a cool looking cartridge. Definitely keeping eyes peeled for Guilty Gear Advance. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a copy of Guilty Gear Advance if that's like a, if it's reasonably priced. I wouldn't pay a lot of money for Guilty Gear Advance. But like even if it's just like a loose cartridge, I would be happy with a copy of that. That's definitely one of those ones that'd be kind of a nice novelty to have. It is that thing where if any of the things at the market have, you know, a decent amount of GBA games, you'll probably, that's probably what I'll be spending my time. Like, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for, like, I don't know, NES or Super Nintendo stuff or anything. I'll need to take stock of my retro games before Sunday. There's a few I'm not sure if I still have. Not sure if I actually got legitimately from the bars. Yeah, you don't want to be like either buying stuff you already have or not buying something because you're like, I already have that, and then go back and it's like, oh no, actually I had a Barra's copy of that. And be like, I could have got that. I really want to go to that, what was the shop that Mikey was talking about? The one in Shorten. I want to go there at some point. It's just such a trek for me though. Forbidden Worlds, yeah, that's the one. I kinda guessed they would. Oh shit. Oh, we have too many now. Right, let's go back to the shop. Let's see what we can sell. I don't think we can buy something for 3 ore. We might need to like dig up some more ore and then buy some stuff. This is where this gets weird. But yeah, that shop looks really cool. I'd like to go there. Same issue though. I don't know what I'd actually buy, but I'll buy something. I guess the thing for me is, and this is a thing I'm not going to buy anytime soon because I don't have space for it, but once I move, I would quite like to own like a Sega Saturn. I'd like to own a Sega Saturn, and I'd like to own like one of the kind of fancy upscaler devices for Sega Saturn games. Or for really any of those kind of things. But I don't, yeah. I don't drive those, so I'll be pressuring others to take me along next time they go, yeah, fair. For me, it's like, I don't know, I could probably get a train through, I guess. I don't know why I'm still digging stuff up, but I need to go to the shop. Where's the shop? Where is the shop? Not that one, right? That's it, I think. It's really awkward to reach with public transport, it's pretty rural. That's a shame. But like, Stirling's relatively easy to walk around. I'm sure it's probably not too bad. I don't know, I've only been to Stirling a couple of times. One of the people we went to uni with was from there. That's why I went the first time. I went there for his birthday. Right, I need something that... I need to spend 9 ore chunks. That's 10 ore chunks, that's too much. That's too much. 70 ore chunks is definitely too much. Right. Let's grab some more ore chunks. Usually get some warehouse area place. Yeah, I looked on the map, it looks like it's kind of in a little kind of industrial section. Right, so now... Oh my god, it's still 21. We need like a round number. We need that last digit to be 7. Which is not a round number. I realise now that I've said that. I need to unequip this ring. That's what I need to do. The ring's doubling everything we get, so we're only getting values of 2. I'm an idiot. No, that'll give me 5. I need 1. Right. So now I need to spend... I'm bad at maths. 40? I need to spend 40 ore chunks. Was one of these worth 40? Was this 40? 70, that's way too much. 25 ore chunks, that's no. One was like 10, right? You just buy this 4 times. Oh, this was 40. There we go. 20 cents. I don't give a fuck about cents. Joy. Alright, do not pick up any more fucking chunks. Go talk to Pirate. I think Pirate was down this way? This son of a bitch. This isn't the right way, is it? Yeah, but honestly, so like the one thing I would quite like to own is a Sega Saturn, like I said. But I don't really care about owning a real one, but emulation for Sega Saturn games is still real bad. Like I was actually looking into this recently because I wanted to play Sonic R, of course, on stream. But the emulated versions of Sonic R for Sega Saturn are all a mess. Like I tried like 3 different emulators and they were all broken in different ways. I'm glad I didn't have to put the code back in. Right, we can now hold more bombs. Right, here's the code. Let's switch back. Oh, my controller is went to sleep. Yes. Oh my god. Nah, I feel like some old systems are effectively kind of lost right now. Yeah. Saturn's one of the worst ones for it, and it kind of depends on how popular the system is. So like, original Xbox emulation is still kind of bad as well, because again, the one owned an original Xbox. At least Microsoft has kind of covered a lot of that stuff, like a lot of those games run on, you know, actual Xboxes still. But a lot of them don't. And Microsoft at some point said, like, we're not expanding our emulation efforts at any point anymore. So like, there's a bunch of Xbox games that don't run on anything, and they probably never will. Oh shit, we're in the past. Whoops. I think that's something that the like FPGA emulation is good for, because theoretically it's emulating hardware instead of emulating software, which is kind of a gimmick in a way, but like theoretically it means you do it once and then stuff should run. And it should be more accurate. Like, there's an people are working on Sega Saturn stuff for the big, like, popular FPGA platform, the Mister. And that's coming along really quickly and really well. So I think at some point that's going to be the way to play those games. Positives, there were a lot of multi-platform games, so at least there's other ways to play that stuff. Yeah, that's true. Right, we can open more bombs. Let's save. I don't know when we last saved. We actually, you know what? While we're at it, we should save seasons as well. I haven't saved seasons at all during this. Okay, save that. And actually, let's create suspend point too, because I will delete this by accident at some point. Oops. I think that's us for secrets for now. Next one is after the 4th dungeon, so actually we've got like 2 dungeons before we can do any more of these. Can we do any of the trading sequence? Let's check that so we don't miss any of that either. Trading sequence. We currently have the stink bag. You 100% need to have a loop of the screen with the sleeping tree available in the corner from now on though. For any evening stream. But yeah, okay, you know what? That's a good point. Let's get back to the tree. Oh, this is the wrong... I'm surprised it took me this long to do this, but I used the wrong controller there. Get back to the tree. Alright, do we want the tree or do we want the guy playing with his dog? These are the options. I think the tree might be better just because it fills more of the screen. But on the other hand, this guy's playing with his dog. Yeah, I think the tree. I might look at the sprite sheet for this and see if I can make a gif of this. Wouldn't be good as an emote or anything because it's too wide, but I can find a use for it. Right. Sleepy Tree's back. Right, where are we at? You can make an animated emote. Guy throws camera pans the dog. That would be pretty good. That would be elaborate. Doable though. That might be a project for this week. I want to try. I've got a couple of things I want to try and do this week while I'm off work, but that might be something I try. Right, the stink bag is given to the Tokyo Chief on Crescent Island in the prison. So actually, yeah, we're in the right place, because we're going to go to the island next. We're just going to progress the story for once. Let's go exploring. So we need to find a way to go south. Well, that's a dead end. But yeah, I have this whole week off, so I originally thought I'm going to stream a bit more, but I'm only going to do that on Wednesday, I think. I'm going to have a bit of a longer stream on Wednesday. Partly because Wednesday seemed like it was the quietest out of the days that people had posted their schedules for. So I figured that'd be a good day to jump in with some stuff. But my plan is to play Rodeo the Sky Soldier and to play some of that Guilty Gear game for the WonderSwan. Maybe we'll look at some other random WonderSwan games too. I threw a bunch of them on here. Some of them have like English translation patches. You could take the Friday lunch slot as well if you want. I might do that. 1 PM, 2 PM isn't viable for me this week. Yeah, no worries. Is that sickness related stuff or work related stuff? Or both? Wait, can I get this chestnut? Oh, God, I was like locked into a hole. But yeah, I might do that. I don't think I'm doing that for Friday. Maybe I'll do some Tokyo Jungle again. People seem to like that game. And just sprint meetings 12:30 to 1:30. Oof. Oof. I'm quite lucky because like most of my team are in the US, so almost all my meetings are like 4 PM. Like 3 PM, 4 PM. Alright, need to swim at some point. I don't know if I like this music. I think the loop for this music's too short. I like the fairy music. Fairy music's always good. Right. There's no obvious way down there. Yeah, I might do a wee lunchtime stream. Because I don't have a lot planned. I just took a week off because I had days to use up. I was like, fuck it, take a week off. I want to get my Disaster Day of Crisis video finished. I want to get that out of the way. So I've kind of procrastinated on it long enough. And also, because I actually do want to make a Fragile Dreams video. Like, I actually have ideas about what I want to do about that. So I want to get the disaster one out of the way so I can get the Fragile Dreams. I need to do an Other M thing as well. I don't know what I'm going to do about Other M though. Like, so many people have made videos about Metroid Other M. I don't really want to... I don't know if I've really got anything interesting to say about it other than, you know, the game's alright. The game gets more hate than it deserves because the story's terrible, but the gameplay's pretty good. I don't know where I'm meant to go. Maybe I need to be in the past. can't be share. Where was the lady? She in the past? She was the present, right? It was below the fountain. Oh no, it was the past, because the bridge was there. Guess we can go to the past again? Let's go back to it. Do you have anything interesting to say? Crescent Island and the South Sea. Yeah, okay. But yeah, slightly longer stream on Wednesday. I'm gonna do a little bit of Wonder Swan Guilty Gear game, some Rodea the Sky Soldier, and Rodea I'll like do a side by side like kind of comparison of the Wii and the Wii U game to show off the differences, which I think will be quite fun for that. It's such a weird situation with those games. I was tempted to also like emulate the 3DS version, but I don't. It's not worth it. It's too much effort. It's the same as the Wii U one. It's not worth it. Who are you? Rafting. My dream is to make fine rafts that can sail the seas. Could you do that? They need rope. A named Shpal on the east edge of town who is working on such rope, but I don't think he's done yet. Let's go help that guy. Oh, we'll need to find him in the future or in the present once he's done making his rope. Time travel. Time travel. Right, let's over here. We didn't actually go over here. Oh, we can totally make this jump. Oh, this is... Come on. Link. I believe in you. Okay, maybe not. Maybe need like speed berries or speed seeds or something. We'll find Cheval. Cheval. I think I like the past version of this music better. Is it different? Am I crazy? Yeah, it's slightly different. Here's Cheval. There's a weird guy by the sea. He floats in the air. I wonder where he's at. That's Tingle. Where's the rope guy? He's at the east edge of town. That would be like here. There's only the ring man here. Do you know? Hey. Are you the rope man? Oh, you're Ifrit. This is Ifrit. This is our boy. Ifrit, why are you so fucking weird? Come to me, Ifrit. Come to me, Ifrit. Oops. Exclamation mark, Ifrit. I do not have that set up. Yeah, I'm strong. I'll be strong too so I can protect my mom and dad. You do that, Ifrit. Ifrit's doing well, and I can teach you everything about trees. Inside the Gasha nut, more than anything you find magic rings, but sometimes you find rubies or hearts. Thanks, that's everything about trees, I guess. Ifrit's very shy. What kind of child were you, Proto? Energetic? Definitely not. Quiet? Yes. Ah, look at that. Must have been cute. I clocked you playing 16 earlier, actually. without any spoilers for our viewers, where you're at now. I just got what appears to be, at least looking on the like screen for it, the second last icon. I don't know if another one adds on, but you know how like you're getting them in the like circle around the fire one? I just got what appears to be the second and last one of those. Landed in Ash. Did I land in Ash? I think that might be the next thing I need to do. Someone just parted the ocean. Yeah, I did the boat stuff. I've not done the next bit. Because, you know, side stuff. I've done the... So I did the boat stuff, and then it gives you the last of the line of the what's his face? The Smithies series of quests. So I did that instead, and that's all I've done. Because there were so many animals. We speak just between us. I've seen an animal called Ricky that can jump small holes in cliffs by just moving towards them. Yeah, I know. He can also punch things. But yeah, I'm really liking that game. I need to finish it. Nope, not the pirates. Where's the fucking rope guy? The side quests are worth it anyway. Yeah. I was also tempted to do like the bounty board stuff, but I don't think I've got the patience for that, and it seems difficult. I'm Mamayu-yan, top breeder in town. My dog is much cuter than that dog, much cuter, but my dog is very shy. Do you know of a good way to hide its face? Can you get a mask for the dog? The fights in the bounty board are actually really fun. I'd recommend it. Some good ones. I accidentally ran into one. It was like a giant dragon out in the middle of nowhere, and it fucked me up. But it seemed like a fun fight. Like the mechanics of the fights. I feel like the fact that yes, I think that was it. I think the fact that you know, you can kind of tell it was made by people that usually make MMO boss encounters. Like the attack patterns and stuff like that feel very MMO boss, but like in a good way. Like applying that to an action game is like a cool, weird thing. Wait, what? How do we get that chest? Yeah, okay. Vara is almost a straight rip from the Dragon Enemy archetype in 14. Yeah, it kind of feels like it. Doesn't have all the later dragon mechanics, but it has most of them. Yeah, it feels like that. Heroes Cave. Right, you know what? I'm gonna burn this fucking tree down. Or no, let's go this way. Which is funny because devs of 16 previously made the dragon expansion for 14. Yeah, it makes sense. The dragons are some of the most MMO-ish fights, yeah. Man, I should have burnt that tree down. There's a chest there. Now, there were some houses down... Wasn't there some down this way? Is that one in the past? Any people down here? I don't know where to get rope. Maybe I do need to go in the past and talk to them. But I am really enjoying that game. I literally just fell off it because other stuff came out. But I'll try to finish up a bunch of my backlog before the end of the year. Because I would like to do a stream where I just do... I don't know how interesting it'd be for people, where I just like rank my favourite games, you know, just do a Game of the Year thing. Because I've been keeping track of the stuff that I played on like a backlog list. That's fine, Cashy, as long as you don't have to work today, sleeping's good. Sandwich, that's it. Didn't even need to plan for it, it just happened. Nom nom nom. That's a hard. Yeah. But you got a rope? Oh, you weirdo. Your mouth looks crazy. What the fuck? I wish I could jump. Oh, that's creepy. This guy's creepy as fuck. Definitely need it. Yeah, sometimes you just need it. Where is this guy? I bet I went all the way into prison for nothing. I'm Cheval. Oh, you're old as hell. You're not going to be in the present. I'm researching items for use in water before I die. I want to finish my work on flippers for swimming and rope that won't decay in water. I hope to aid all the people of the world by inventing such things before I die. Alright, go. Go. Right, I guess we need to come back here in the present and find the stuff he made after he's dead. It's pretty grim. Oh shit. It's this dude. Are you looking for something? What? Cheval, I know that name. I've seen a grave in our own time that has that name on it. But I don't have time to chat. I'm busy. What are you busy doing? Yeah, we time traveling. This human Kirby. You shut your mouth. How dare you speak about Kirby that way? How dare you, Crash? I don't remember that guy's name. He's a cool, like, magician-looking guy. He's a hero, I guess? I don't know. Is there a time travel spot near here? Do I need to go back into town? Oh, look at these cool fucking diamonds. What the fuck? Cool fucking diamonds. Alright, okay, there's nothing here we can do. I don't think I've ever come this way. I guess I only just got the jump, so when would I have come this way? Think. Think, man. Think. Right, time travel. Let's go to the graveyard. Find that dude's grave. Dig up his flippers? Did he get buried with them? Let's find out. Wait, let's do this. Only 30 rubies. Graveyard is this way? This way? This way. I don't know why I went it's there. Right, let's get our sword out. I assume we're gonna have to jump. There's gonna be a grave we couldn't reach before, right? Not here. There's no way there. That'd be fucked. Oh shit. The bear's scared of ghosts. It'll shock you too. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Right, hold on, let me get my... What do I have on? You fuck off, ghosts. Leave that bear alone. Hey buddy, can I ride you? The ghosts are all gone. Proto, I can help you if you like, Proto. Climb onto my back. Happy to hover. Yeah, I remember this. No water. So I guess this is the right way then. Or it's a right way. I can float if you tap A. I like this mechanic. Wait, hold on. Let me go off here. Is this Cheval's grave? You guys got any flippers? Doesn't look like it. I mean, you might have fucking drowned. Oh, that's a weird looking thing. We need jumping and the croissant. Oh, I'm an idiot. Why did I do that? Nope. Still an idiot. Try to get fancy with these diagonal jumps. I shall entrust my invention only to one with both might and light feet. Is this going to close really quickly and I need... Oh no, it's fine. I can swim! Hurrah! Let's swim across the ocean. Not super quickly. Yeah, it's not the fastest swim ever. And here's the rope we needed. The Cheval rope. It won't rot when wet. Alright, our bear friend left. He's fucking ditched us. I mean, to be fair, we ditched him, but... You found what you were looking for. I'm glad I could help. See you around. Alright. Bye, buddy. Fucked off. Can't blame him. The spooky graveyard. The spooky graveyard and there's some asshole in it that wants to raid you. Back to the past. The difference between the two trees is kind of funny. Some rafts. Is he going this way? No, he was this way. It was across the bridge. I'm doubting myself. This is our boy. Got you some rope, buddy. I can finish my raft. Let me have that rope. Yeah, go for it. You can be the first to ride my raft when it's done, but you'll need a chart if you want to go out to sea. Going without a chart is an invitation to disaster. I'll have the raft ready by the time you get a chart. How do you know that? Right, where can we get a chart from? We might have a chart. Oh, our wizard friend's here. Pheasant Proto. I found a chart. Nothing about as usual. What are you doing? You an island chart. I've heard that weird guy has sea charts to the secret isle. Do we want? I'm too busy trying to save my road to help you. You're not doing a good job. What weird guy? There's a lot of weird guys. Oh, Tingle. The weirdest of guys. He has to mean Tingle, right? There are no human beings weirder than Tingle. Tingle was in the present, I think. Which makes sense. All of that guy's knowledge is of the present. Is he from the present, like us? We'll find our weird friend. I don't know how to get to Tingle though. Because he was like over here? Oh, Ricky's here, that's how. Clear holes and cliffs in my pant to jump, but I'm not in such a good mood right now, you see. I lost my precious gloves. Love that guy just chilling there as we beam in. This is Ricky the kangaroo. I think I left him by a tree in the beach, but I can't seem to find him. Alright, let's go to the beach, I guess. Wait, where the fuck's the beach? Yeah, we need to find his boxing gloves. As you're no doubt aware, kangaroos require boxing gloves. Is this the beach? Kind of grassy for a beach. Did his gloves get like blasted into the past? Why was there a snake on the ground? What the fuck? Yeah, no, they're there. Right. Give him his gloves back. That was a complete guess. Good thing is he might be able to get us up to old Tingle. I love the noise that Ricky makes. That noise. So good. Let's eat punch. You also jump small holes or cliffs. Look at him. So depending on the order you do some of the companion stuff in, you can choose like which companion you get, I'm pretty sure. Because I just did it the normal way, we get the bear, which I like the bear, to be fair. But I kind of wish we'd done it in the order that lets us get Ricky. Because Ricky's so cool. He's a kangaroo. Right, a cliff like that is one leap. I'll jump up, you move up and try it. Look at that. Move towards a hole, I'll just jump over. I can clear one hole easy. Give it a try. Hey Tingle buddy. Fucking punch it. Damn. Let's get out of this goddamn kangaroo, I guess. How do we get Tingle down? Tingle? I think I have ethanol. Tingle? Pay attention to me. I don't know what to do. Tingle. Oh, there we go. I had to jump and use my sword. This balloon, like, exploded. Are you smitten with forest fairies? My name is Tingle, the one and only. I am a true fairy. They'll just say that at 35 I should open my eyes. I say Tingle is the very reincarnation of a fairy. Man. You know, as someone who turns 32 in like 2 weeks, Tingle acting like 35's an old age real hits hard, you know? People really told Tingle he should be a grown up and not do kiddish things like, you know, streaming video games on the internet. Would you like Tingle the Fairy for a friend? Yeah, sure. Why not, you fucking creep. You and Tingle are friends. Yes, yes, as a sign of our friendship, Tingle will give you his chart that shows the way to the secret island. Thanks, buddy. That's actually all I wanted. Let's never talk again. Come back here every time you see Tingle. If you get more mystical seeds, something good may happen. Tingle, Tingle, Kulu, Limpa. These are the magic words that Tingle created himself. Don't steal them. I guess you found what you're after. This is just between you and me, but I can't stand this guy, so I'll see you later. Man, Ricky, what the fuck? Ricky Kangaroo is literally like, yo, fuck Tingle. This guy sucks. I'm out. He's not wrong, but man, that's unfortunate. Alright, let's go. Can we swim in the ocean? Nope. Yeah, the kangaroo is not wrong, to be fair. Tingle's a fucking weirdo. So we need to go back to the past. A lot of time travel in this section. Which, I mean, is the main mechanic of the game, but... We had to go to the past to find the guy that makes rafts. Then we had to come into the present, or we had to stay in the past to find the guy that makes the rope to make the rafts. Then we had to come into the present to find the rope after he'd finished it and died. Then we had to go back into the past and then he told us we needed a chart as well, so we had to come back into the present to get the chart. Pretty fun. A lot of switching. Back to the past. It should be the last little time shift we have to do for now. Wait, was that guy always... This guy's always been here, right? He was a very sub-Rosenfeld. Wait, where is he? I guess he's down south? Have we ever done this? Swing your sword to hit the balls back at the targets. Each kind of target has a different point value. Berry's 100, blue's 30, red is -10, imp is -50, miss is -50. Prize is based on your score after 10 pitches. Okay, so it's like a baseball thing? Oh, I missed. Oh my god, the timing on this. I feel like this has probably not helped with coming through a capture card. One red, one blue, 30 -10. Good points. Alright, we've got some points on the board. Oh no, -60. We have 0 points again. Fuck. Oh my god, I'm terrible at this. Nah, I'm good. No, god damn it. Right, we're doing it again, I guess. I hit the wrong button. Oh, that doesn't work. Fuck. I'm not very good at baseball, it seems. Great, I got minus 60 points. I don't know how to hit it at an angle. I can barely hit it in a straight line. Well, 0 points. No. Fuck that. What's this one? Buy rings. Advance ring. Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. I think it needs to be in the present to get the rings. I think this is the screen the ring shop's on. Guess we'll come back. Although actually I would kinda like to get the... Let's do it quickly. Let's do the rings quickly. What time is it? 10 past 12. That's fine. Stream a bit longer. I'm off work anyway. I do have a flat inspection tomorrow though, which is unfortunate. Oh, we have a bunch of rings to praise. Off work pals and yeah. I took this week off. So yeah. We already have this one, so fine. 30 rupees. Moblin ring. Already have it. GBA time ring. Life advanced. What does that mean? Protection ring. Damage taken is always 1 heart. That seems useful. What does the advanced ring do? This just This is literally just a ring that's like, hey, you played this on a Game Boy Advance, because it thinks my Analog Pocket is a Game Boy Advance. Yes, doesn't seem to do anything. I'm gonna Google that. GBA time ring. The GBA time ring can be bought for 100 rupees in the Advance shop in Oracle of Ages, only when playing on a Game Boy Advance, so that shop doesn't even exist on a regular Game Boy. Or regular Game Boy Color. It has no effect when worn. Alright, well, that's that then. It's just a ring to say, hey, you played this on a Game Boy Advance. Let's take the... I had this one before, but we just got that one with the weird health thing, right? Damage taken's always 1 heart, seems like a good one to cheese stuff. Right. Alright, we need to go back to the past. I took this week off with the intention of doing very little except for streaming. And annoyingly, I have a flat inspection tomorrow. And I'm getting smart meters installed on Thursday, so my power is going to be out for a while. So probably not much streaming on those days. Oh, Wednesday. Slightly longer stream. If I wake up early enough, maybe I'll do a morning stream, but I doubt it. I'm not waking up on my goddamn day off. I'm not getting out of bed till like 1. My raft is ready, come over here. Let's go. Wait, where is it? Outside? Oh hell yeah. We got a raft. I believe you're not dedicated enough to stream for early morning. That's true. Now you've said it, your body will get you up early. That has been happening to me last week. Because I had jury duty. So I had to wake up a bit earlier for that. This seems bad. But then every day since jury duty, I've been waking up at the time I had to wake up for jury duty. It's been kind of a pain. That seems bad. Oh, these lizard people. The conspiracy theorists were right. The lizard people stole my shit. What the fuck? Those assholes. They stole all my shit. This is Crescent Island. I've never seen a Toki like you. You have ears. Are you a long-eared Toki? Yeah, sure. Give me my shit back. Oh my god, there's enemies. These assholes. I'm gonna slaughter every one of you fucking weird lizard people. I don't know nothing. I mean, I'm innocent. I don't know whose shovel it is. Give me the shovel. My shovel. That guy's got a sword. Asshole. Where'd he go? You see where he went? No. Where's my shovel? Start talking about hay sandstone, exactly. I'm gonna wipe out these lizard people. The men, the women, the children too. Hey, it's you. What are you doing here? I remember you. We were on a date one time. Oh, she has my shovel. I'm leaping off somewhere. What a weirdo. You rescued my shovel. Thank you. Right, let's give a sword back. That's the most important thing. Then I can start murdering people. You. Thanks, buddy. Maybe you should be lucky. You should consider yourself lucky I didn't stab you. This time. What the fuck? Oh, we need to jump in thing. We get our feather back. Alright, you know what? The people have spoken. Fucking die. This'll teach you to steal my goddamn sword. Seem to be immune to swords. Must be some lizard man trait. I'm not talking to you again, you're just going to make fun of my ears. Right, let's see, where's our other shit? We'll go this way now. That guy's got my seeds. You. Fuck it, yeah. Give me a shield. We're going to be able to do something with these at some point, I'm sure. Right, there's one guy, there's a couple of guys down there. Can't do anything with these yet. You got my croissant? The Guardian's at the center of the island. The sun climbs high into the sky, the sea comes in and you can't get to him. Yeah, gotta kill him too. There's a spot just like this on the west side of the island. Great. I'm not gonna try and kill you guys because I know how that goes. Okay. Okay, so it'd be a... Okay, there's a tree here at some point. You want something? We can trade. I'm not trading, this is my shit. Oh, you motherfucker. Yeah. Fine, take my goddamn shovel. That one dies first. Let's get our seat back. Can we do anything here now? We've got this. Doesn't really look like that. Like we can get up here. We can't like get across there. What a strange area. Oh shit, I needed the feather. Fuck. Need bombs. Okay, we got bombs. That's not what I needed. Can we do anything else here? Do I need to get the feather? Oh, I need this. That wasn't what I expected to happen. Yeah, that guy's got a harp, that seems important. Oh, did they take my flippers too? These motherfuckers. I'm always outraged when I get an ad online for the uni I work at. I bet. Can I give you enough? Yeah, I was getting that for a while. Like, I used to work for a company that made security alarms. Like home security systems. And I just got constant adverts for them. Which is funny, because like I already had one. You know, I got one for free. I still have it. It doesn't work anymore because that company went bankrupt. And when they went bankrupt, all of their alarm systems stopped working. Which is not a good design. I need to go trade for the feather. Here. I mean, I think technically you could still do some basic stuff, like you could set it up to work on motion detector stuff, but all the stuff you would actually want to use it for, like activating it remotely and stuff, relied on the app that I worked on, which relied on a server, and the server doesn't exist anymore. I would like that. Yeah, tell me those. Pass meat to each Toki that runs past. You give meat to each one, you win. If you skip even one, you fail. Okay, that seems tough. Oh, I missed one. Tokis want that meat. It looks pretty good, to be fair, look at this. I've never seen an actual real-life bit of meat that looks the way that, like, cartoon and video game meat looks like. I would eat a bit of meat that looks like that. It looks great. The yellow colour's maybe a little... Not usually... Maybe it's just like... No, 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 no! Okay. No! God damn it, I'm too slow. Maybe it's just, been, like, marinated in, like, turmeric. That's why it's yellow. There was actually a thing, there was a trailer or like some gameplay stuff for Dragon's Dogma 2, a game that I'm very excited for. And people have been arguing online about if the meat in the trailer for it is CG or if it's real. Like people are like, did they use FMV, like real meat? And it's kind of hard to tell. Alright, we've got the ceiling. Like, it looks kind of real. Right, now when you get a harp, go back to the past and plant the ceiling. Give me the fucking... Wait, why do you give my shovel back? I don't want the shovel, I want this. Hold on, let me see if I can find that video. Dragon's Dogma 2 meat. I can't believe they stole your stuff and are making you trade seeds to give it. I know it's fucked, right? These guys are assholes. Let me switch quickly to... Oh no, let me just actually... I'll add something to this scene. Oh god, can I make this fit? Alright. Look at this. That's some real meat, right? It looks real. Anyway, people have been debating it online because they're like, is that real meat? It looks like real meat. Anyway, Dragon's Dogma 2 looks great. I'm really excited for that game. You're feared. Why? Does the meat scare you? Come away. Alright, I don't have my flippers. I don't know what I need to do. Somewhere else I can jump. Here, I need my flippers back. As much as I'm joking about wanting to kill all these lizard people, this is quite a fun section. Thanks, buddy. Maybe you should carry this for me. You're like stealing my shit. I need my croissant. Where else I can jump? Let's just go back. I don't think we can jump anywhere. Don't do that. Okay, fine, let's trade back, and then we'll trade this again. Soon I'll be coming for the feather. Let's go back to where we were. In here. Fuck off. I'm down here. I do like these little sections. Oh. Here. Finally, give me my fucking seeds. So now, we should be able to buy the feather back. Because we do have mystery seeds. Do we? Yeah, okay. Thankfully it refilled my seeds. If you were describing a cable, we describe it as barely 5 feet long. It depends how long it was, I guess. Seems like the anti. Well, I guess, yeah. Yeah, that's maybe strange. Is it a cable that's usually really long? And they're like, look, we made a short one. Or shorter. 5 feet still. Relatively long. Well, I mean, it depends what the cable is, I guess. Wait, I don't know how to get to that chest. Like somewhere I can bomb in here? Range room. You know what? Yeah, that's the thing. Surely you want to be more precise than that. Can you get through here now? jump. A little bit 2D platforming. In my harp. You don't even know how to time travel. Useless to you. Can't do that because I have a shovel. Don't know if I can do in here. Yeah. What am I still missing? I feel like I'm still missing something. I mean, my shovel, obviously. Go plant a tree. There's a winding maze beneath this island, maybe. Hey. Not touching them. I'll go to okay with no tail, opened our guardian's mouth. I had to cook dinner per order, Toki. But by door they're all dubbed up. The big cook. Oh, they double. They're cold. I feel like I could do that better if I just held my nose, right? It'll taste awful. Give him the stink bag. That'll clear his nose. My nose stings. That was stinky. Alright, stink bag cleared it up. We need something really good. I got some tasty meat. Who's the tasty meat go to? Oh, I don't have the thing open anymore. Let's see. Sparkle Seasons trade sequence. Nope, wrong one. Oh no, ages. Bubble. I don't know what it is about me trying to do the like stuffed nose voice that also makes me try to do like a kid's voice at the same time. The teeth bubble. Tasty meat. Gotta give it to the happy masks. Oh yeah, the mask salesman was wanting food. Right. Didn't we get off this fucking island? What if we have to do a little dungeon here? Although I do kind of want to see, I guess, what's different. I need to learn my numbers. Yeah, same buddy. I'm not good at maths either. This is the Wild Toki Museum. We Toki used to play here long ago, but not anymore. The Toki on your left and right are real. I mean, real looking Toki. They won't respond if you talk to them. Oops. weird. That's kind of funny, and I didn't think about the fact we were in the past when we got here. Oh, so wait, fuck, I should have actually planted the seedling when I was there. Oh. Planted past. I kinda thought we were in the present, but no, we were in the past, never in the present. It's kind of funny how people, like, disintegrate when you change time periods. If you plant a seedling now, it would take hundreds of years to grow, but where would I plant it? This is all very confusing. Yeah, it's time travel. Give me my shovel. Yeah, fine. Can I plant the seedling like here? I assume there must be a specific place that I can plant it. You fuck off, goddamn snake. There must be a very obvious place. Like, what's in this cave again? I've been in this cave so many times. Yeah, it's that guy. Alright. Where can I plant stuff? I guess there's a time switch thing on the other side of the island. Maybe over there? Nope. I don't know if I can do this without... I don't know if I can get over there without the bracelet. Where am I to go? No, stop. Stop talking to me. I don't like you. I have my shovel so I can get through here now. I don't want to push that up. What am I missing here? If I do that, then I can't do anything. Oh wait, I just this? Alright, it's easier than I thought it was. Not what I wanted though. You know where I can plant a seed? The independent woman, so you have to wait for another day. That's fine by me. Maybe I do need both the grapple, the croissant and the bella. How am I to go there? I'm confused. Maybe we need to go over to the other side in the present and then come back to the past? Go that way. Oh. Listen to me, it takes a long time for trees to grow. The same goes for that vine you climbed down. Yeah, okay, I get it. Put the vines next to the thing. But when I put it down, they break. I just need to, like, push them. Oh, doing that. I just need to push them without picking them up. Should probably get my thing back. Let me double check I'm not missing something here. Yeah, there's like nothing here. I assume we have to grow it up there. Actually, now that I think about it, we never went up there. Go get the power bracelet back. Oh, the little musical notes. Yeah, everything in this looks great. Apologies for redoing stuff over and over here and getting stuck, but my defense is almost 1 AM. It's almost 1 AM and this is like the most elaborate puzzle we've had yet. I think I can just do this. Leave this there. You very dare you. Is there a precious tree nursery? The ascent tree was planted here long ago. If I had a seedling, I'd plant it here. Yeah, plant it. I like this guy, get big right away, it takes a while, yeah. Back in a minute. Back in a minute, buddy. Don't mind me, just go time travel. Oop. Be back. Now, I don't think there was a way to get up there, so we need to run this way. Also, that's growing now, so we can go up there, but we'll do that in a minute. Oh shit, how did we get up there in this time period? Alright, let's check up here while we're here. Where's this go? Were there stairs? I thought it was just a cliff face. Oh, we can plant a seed here though. You hear growing things. Plant that there, forget about it. Probably never come back to this island and never find it. Might just be making shit up. You misleading me? I think the rule is we only do that on Mikey streams. Not intentionally. Yeah, so it's just a cliff. There's obviously a way to get there from the other side though. I think we might need to use the time switch thing on the other side of the island. Let's see if we can get back over there. I don't remember how we got over there, but we got over there before. But I'm pretty sure it was surrounded by dark. Seems like one of those wee ceilings we can move around. Like this one becomes a thing. Can I smash these yet? God damn it. Dead to me. Making me redo this goddamn section again. God, not even the right way. God. So it can't be that, because we need to be able to swim, or we need to be able to pick things up to get in there, we need to be able to jump to get through the last bit, right? The fruitless tug. We've all been there. Let me double check. I've already forgotten. Yeah, we need to jump over that hole. So like, we need the feather for this. And we need the power thing to do this. So it's not there. Can't be that. That doesn't make sense. How else would we get here? Must be something down here? Maybe this? Probably that. Actually, it's almost definitely that. Because then we'll be able to come across this way. And go here. Alright. Figured it out. Figured it out. We go back to the present. Get my way, lizards. I've got time traveling to do. See you suckers. Right. Going this way. Oh, we need the feather. Down here. Don't give a fuck about you. Go up here now. You fuck off. Here we are. We goddamn did it. Yay. I wonder if they actually give me puzzles that require the scent seeds, because I don't think you use the scent seeds once in seasons. Give me them seeds. Better fucking give me enough to actually... They gave me 18. You only wanted 10, right? You better have only fucking wanted 10. They only gave me 18. Nice. It's not nice. I can hold up to 50. Give me the 10 cents. Thank you. I got all my items. Now I'm gonna save. I never need to do that again. Go further into the future for 50. It's just a giant tree that becomes a forest. So Oh wait, no. I do want to be in the present. Or the past. Fuck. Don't mind me, Lizard Man. I'm out again. Fucked up. Imagine a time traveler, like, vanished in front of you to travel through time, and then reappeared, like, for you, what was like a moment later, and he was just like, ah, nah, shit, sorry. Didn't mean to come back here, bye. And just fucking dipped again. Like 3 times in a row. Like, no, I'm trying to figure something out. There's some puzzles. Don't worry about it. I like Link's swimming sprite. Like his little, look at his little legs kicking. Look at his little legs. He's very realistic. Yeah, I feel like if I was time traveling to do something, I would fuck it up constantly and just be like, yeah, sorry. I actually meant to go to this exact space in like the 80s and I fucked up and came here. Don't worry about it. These little leggies. And now we can do this. Which I don't know what the point of this is, but we'll soon see. I can barely keep track of one time stream. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm awful when it comes to time. Oh, like I'm really bad at remembering dates and stuff like that. So people will be like, oh, you know, it's like so-and-so's birthday next month. I'm like, who? When? Oh, thank you. Oh, did they have a birthday? I barely remember my birthday most years. Fuck your bushes. Kill these crabs. Time travel spot. Let's explore this bit a bit more first. Like someone was like, save the world, you must be at this place at the exact time the world will be fucked. Yeah, definitely. Alright, we're at the next dungeon. We made it. Now, it is also 1 AM, so I think that's gonna do it. Go save the game. I'm also going to take a save state. I don't really know how save states work with actual cartridges, but we'll find out. Let me switch to... The best I need to shower is fair.